My GPS took me on a detour through a town that shouldn't exist. Last month, I was driving home from visiting my sister, who lives about 4 hours away. It was getting late, around 10 p.m., and I was on a rural highway I'd driven many times before. I had my GPS on mostly out of habit, even though I knew the route well. About halfway home, my GPS suddenly announced, "Rerouting due to accident ahead." I hadn't heard anything about an accident on the radio, but I figured it was recent. The GPS directed me to take the next exit, which led to a network of country roads I wasn't familiar with. After about 20 minutes of driving through farmland and forests, I started to get concerned. The roads were getting narrower and less maintained. I checked my phone to see if there was actually an accident on my original route, but I had no signal. I considered turning around, but the GPS insisted I was only 15 minutes from rejoining the highway, so I decided to continue. Soon, I saw lights in the distance, a small town I'd never heard of called Westfield. As I drove into town, something felt off. The buildings looked old-fashioned, like from the 1950s, but everything was immaculately maintained. Despite it being late, all the stores were open, their lights on, but I didn't see any people on the streets or in the shops. At a red light, I noticed a man standing on the corner, staring directly at me. He was wearing clothes that seemed outdated, and he had an unsettling smile. When the light turned green, I drove on, but in my rearview mirror, I could see him walking in my direction. My GPS instructed me to turn onto Oak Street, then Maple Avenue, then Pine Road, all tree names. I realized I was driving in a circle. When I tried to go straight instead of following the GPS, I somehow ended up back on the same streets. After my third loop around the town, I pulled into a gas station to check a paper map I kept in my glove compartment. As I was looking at it, a tap on my window startled me. It was an elderly attendant in a uniform that looked straight out of the 1950s. "You seem lost," he said, still smiling that same unsettling smile I had seen on the man at the corner. "I'm trying to get back to the highway," I replied, not rolling my window down completely. "Oh, you don't want to leave yet," he said. "We so rarely get visitors in Westfield. Why don't you stay the night? The hotel down the street has vacancies. Always has vacancies." Something in his tone made my skin crawl. I thanked him, but said I needed to get home. As I started my car, I noticed more people had appeared on the previously empty streets. They were all staring at my car, all with the same smile. I sped out of the gas station and just drove straight, ignoring my GPS, which was still trying to make me turn. After about 5 minutes of driving, the road suddenly opened up and I was back on the highway. My GPS recalculated and now showed the normal route home, with no accidents. When I got home, I immediately looked up Westfield. There was no record of any such town in the area I had been driving. I even checked historical maps, nothing. A week later, I received a letter with no return address. Inside was a brochure for historic Westfield with a handwritten note that said, "We're saving a room for you." The brochure showed pictures of the town I had driven through, but the photos looked like they were taken decades ago. Yesterday, my GPS started acting up again while I was just driving to work. It's trying to direct me back to those country roads.